humans are either spirit filled or they are human bodies with the spirit in them.
Right.
And so when you go back to the first chapter in the Bible, it tells you a totally different story than what we've been told by the church. And if you want to take the Bible as a guide, it's an extraordinary story that's being told that the people do not know. It's not saying the things that the churches are telling you. It's a very encoded symbolic metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
It's an encoded story. We hear about Bible codes. Yeah, well, there's a really encoded story in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, telling you how we got here and who we are. I talked with the chief rabbi, one of the chief rabbis in America back in 1960, and he said to me, I was talking to him about, as a kid, I was 19 years old, and I was talking to him about how we got here. Like, what do you talk about? God created us. And he said, the Bible in the Old Testament does not say God created man. That's not what the scripture says. It doesn't say God created man. I said, well, that's what I've always been told. Said, well, that's what you've been told, but that's not what's in the scriptures. Believe me, I'm a rabbi, I can tell you. There's no place in the Bible that says God created man. Go back and read the scripture correctly. Go back as a story. Go back and read it correctly.
Isn't it, let us make man in our image? So who is our, right?
Yeah. Who's our? I thought there was only one God. Well, that one God, when he's creating man, says, come, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. And then Christians will say, well, there it is right there. God said, come, let us make man. No, go back and read it correctly. Come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. We've come here, we look at man, the Neanderthal creatures, or these creatures that are roaming the earth, and for being creatures, they're not that pretty, they're not that great. Let's take one of the females and procreate with her and take some of our genetics from our line, coming from out there, and put it into her, and let's see what she gives birth to. So she gives birth to something like humans. So therefore, that's telling us, whoever created us, we look like them. No, they look like us. It's the same thing. They look like us because we look like them. Therefore, they can come now into our world and roam around with us and control us and do all kinds of stuff with us and have fun with us because we think they're just like us. No, they're not just like you. They look like you. They act like you. They dress like you, but they're not like you. They're not from this world. They have come here from another world, and they are able to operate today freely because nobody realizes we look like the creators who created us. They said, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. There's a whole story there in the Bible about who created us and where they came from. And
Well,
I could talk for hours.
So if people are aware, if people are awakening, if people say, I want to know, instead of having their nice, neat world, right, tied up in a box, the people that you might encounter, the beings that you might encounter that are not from here, you might sense that they're different, even though they look like us, because they have a different frequency.
That's right. That's why they're in power and you're not, because they know things you don't know.